Welcome to HBCU Her Voice, a place where we celebrate the powerful voices and stories of remarkable women from historically Black colleges and universities. I'm your host, Shanasia Washington, a proud HBCU graduate myself. I'm thrilled to bring you this platform dedicated to amplifying the voice of our community. We dive into inspiring stories of resilience, success, and the incredible impact these women are making in the world. From trailblazing entrepreneurs to innovative leaders, we bring you the stories that matter, showcasing how HBCU experiences shape paths and fuel passions. We'll explore challenges, victories, and wisdom. Whether you're an HBCU alum, a student, faculty member, supporter, or simply someone who believes in the power of diverse voices, we are so glad to have you. So listen up as we share insights, celebrate achievements, and uplift our community. Together, we can inspire the next generation of leaders and ensure our voices are heard loud and clear. A grand welcome to HBCU Her Voice. You already know you're in the best place to be right now because you are at the HBCU Her Voice podcast. And who am I? Your fabulous host, Shanasia Washington, streaming from the beautiful city of Houston, Texas. And y'all already know it's one of our favorite places to be because we don't skimp on our guests. We bring a real, and we have the real conversation. And today, no other than that, we have another fabulous woman, and she comes to the stage and does her drill. She tells us her name, where she's streaming from, which HBCU she's repping, and then we get that story. Without any further waiting time, here's my very beautiful guest for today.
Hey there, everybody. My name is Dr. Nicole Monteiro. I'm streaming from Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, and I'm representing, don't get offended, the real HU, Howard University. So I'm so happy to be here and just share my story. As you know, successful women come from HBCUs, but we're women that have so much strength and resilience. We also have to learn how to take care of ourselves. And my whole practice, I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, a certified life coach, and a professor of psychology. And everything that I do has to help women to thrive. And I first had to learn to thrive myself. I went through a period after all of my education at Howard University, other universities, University of Virginia, Columbia University, and I was successful in everybody's eyes, but I was dying inside because I was burning out. And I had put so much into my academic and professional achievement that it felt like other areas of my life just were not fulfilling because I really didn't have time for them. And I started to learn the power of prioritizing myself, learning to put my emotional needs and my other relationship needs first, and the importance of learning this keyword, no. I had to learn the power of boundaries. And as I learned to tap into that, I saw the burnout and the lack of fulfillment just melt away. And I said to myself, I have a formula that I have to teach other women. And I started integrating teaching boundaries into what I was doing as a licensed psychologist, holding retreats and seminars, and just teaching internationally, helping women to gravitate what I call no is the new yes. Right? The more we say no to things that don't serve us, things that drain us, we're able to say yes to things that continue to make us more powerful, more successful, more fulfilled. And so my story is one of not just academic and professional success, but really learning the power of boundaries and emotional well-being so that I could not only help myself and help my marriage, help me raising my daughters, but also help other women to do the same. Because ladies, we definitely deserve it all. We don't just have to get the degrees, we deserve the happiness, the fulfillment, the inner peace, and the healthy relationships.
See, Dr. Nicole, that was really the whole premise of kind of this space, because what we've done and been able to do is move beyond the titles in this space. And that's why I'm so very of course, honored to have you here, but also to align with this mission. Because two things you said in that first segment. Dr. Nicole said, I was dying inside. Oh, it's some Walking Dead out there, Dr. Nicole. You and I both know, because you have people that come in your presence you're teaching them, and you know that they're dead inside. And I call them walking dead, because guess what, Dr.
Yes.
Nicole, I was walking dead too around 2019, 2020. The girl was alive,
Ooh.
dressed up, and dead. So I'm always
But
going
because
to.
black doesn't crack, we don't know it, right? We look good, but it's a
But
different story
that wasn't
inside.
it. And then you said this: we need to take care of ourselves, because that career is one thing, but that has nothing to do with that internal piece that has to be continuously replenished and cultivated. So I want
Yes.
to first go here, and I'm going to ask. I don't do this, but I got to go ahead and get both
Okay.
these questions out together, and then you come back. And if I have to come back in between those, I will. Question number one is this: I want you to talk about the bridge of psychology and life coaching, right? Because yes,
Yes.
there's a psychology of it, because there's a science behind what's going on. But then that life coaching piece is kind of bringing that application, I think. So I want you to talk about, in your words, because I think you're positioned to be a phenomenal life coach, because you do have that bridge of psychology and then this life application piece. So can you talk about that bridge? And I'll actually come back with the second question.
Yeah, I look at life coaching as like a way to reach a broader audience. So I'm a licensed psychologist, a therapist, and I think there's a certain way that people feel like I have to have extreme, mental health symptoms in order to seek a psychologist or a therapist. But when you broaden it to life coaching and helping people who maybe just want to up their skills a little bit and be a little bit better in communication, for example, or certain things in their relationships, you're able to help them with very practical, tangible, like concrete tools that will help them reach a specific goal. And so I think my background, having studied psychology for years, I have a PhD in clinical psychology, has helped me to understand the science of human behavior, which I apply whether I'm doing therapy, which might be a more in depth, just really helping a person perhaps through their trauma, and life coaching, where it might be helping them to get from point A to B with some real practical tools that they can, like, I always say, you have to internalize this stuff. You have to make it part of you. So it's not just somebody telling you what to do, but you embody it and you really put it into practice. So that's what I think the power of life coaching is. We reach a broader group of people and we help them with some very specific goals and skills that they need.
Yeah, I love that. And I wanted to make sure I brought that question, because sometimes that touch point of life coaching, it can be very broad. And then people are in the space of their life and they're trying to figure out where they're stuck and why they keep having this vicious cycle. It's a sign that you need a little bit of help. And we all do.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I just wanted to
I've
bring
had
that.
my own therapists and coaches, and like, come on, we all need the help.
We do. I want to go back now briefly to Walking Dead, because the reason why I'm kind of harping on that is because, like, I'm going out and meeting the dead every day, Dr. Nicole. I meet the dead like I'm in the cemetery, but I'm very much walking the streets, walking the workplaces, walking these different places, but I'm seeing the dead. I want you to give us 3 signs that you could be in that category of Walking Dead, because sometimes people have to hear it. They say, "Oh, it's not me. Everybody else is the problem. Everybody else got the problem." No, no, no. We bring it personal here. I want you to give them 3 signs that they could be in your category of Walking Dead.
Okay, yes. And I'm going to give you a combination of physical signs and maybe mental or emotional signs. One is you are absolutely drained. It could be like, it doesn't matter how much sleep you get. At the end of the day, you feel like you don't have any energy, any joy. You literally feel emotionally drained. And it's a feeling that if you have it, you know what it is. You just don't have time to do anything that you like. You don't have interest in doing anything but just sitting, and sometimes sitting in the dark, like you are completely drained. Number 2 is you have feelings of resentment. Like you're pissed off. You're like, why is everybody asking me to do this? Right? That's a sign of no boundaries. You are doing a lot, but you are feeling resentful of it because you feel like other people aren't reciprocating or whatever the case may be. So it's a feeling of like feeling resentful, feeling upset, feeling angry, and you don't quite know why, right? And then the third thing is if your sleep and eating is disrupted because either you're neglecting it, so you're on the go all the time. I can't tell you how many women I talk to that say they don't eat breakfast. And it's not because they're doing intermittent fasting or anything. They just don't have time, or they look up and it's 2 o'clock, right? So you're not eating, you're not sleeping, you're finding yourself waking up at that 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. hour. That's a lot of anxiety that's playing out for you. And you're just kind of suddenly waking up and you can't get back to sleep. You feel unsettled. Those are signs that you got to get help, because you might look good, but inside you're in that place of not doing good.
Let me say this, Dr. Nicole, number three kind of hit a little hard because
That 3 to 5.
because your girl have not been eating breakfast. Partly because I've been working hard on this project here, but your girl has not been eating breakfast. I think I was up not last night. I think I slept pretty good, but the night before I was up like 3 o'clock, and I think I stayed sleep for about 3 hours because then I'm a mom. I had to start getting my son ready for school in the day. And I had to tell myself and check in. I said, okay, we know that you're working very hard and, you're ambitious and you want to get this thing done. You want to make sure, your guests have good experiences, but you have to do that check-in. So I have found myself specifically over the last month, Dr. Nicole, having to have those self-talks, walking myself to the end of the day like, okay, Shanadra, this sleep getting a little shaky. Getting 2 here, you get 3 there, and then let me just go ahead and tell myself, Dr. Nicole, I have breakfast today.
See, and what time? Oh my God. And for you, it's about 12 noon, right?
It's actually 1:17 right now.
See?
So when you were saying, I was like, oh God, I said, Dr. Nicole is coming for me. I'm like in the back of the screen saying that. So I'm gonna definitely remember that and keep that on top of the list. Because especially when you are ambitious and you want to go. I mean, I'm pretty sure you meet women like this who have that career, who have this. We still got to be intentional about checking in, baby, because these jobs, I'm preaching to the choir, because jobs and title, all that stuff will change. You have to make sure that you're fueling yourself up internally for the ride. So thanks for
you fill your gas tank up. You don't drive your nice, beautiful car on E, do you? Or it will stop. You boil you some eggs at night. And at least if you're on the go, you have a nice protein, and you grab your boiled egg at the least, right? It doesn't have to be this big elaborate thing. It's like literally sometimes takes 5 to 10 minutes.
For sure. And I tell people like these podcasts, they be more for me, because I'm like, y'all knew to send Dr. Nicole so he can give you a nudge on the shoulder and say, take care of your business. So I absolutely love it. And thank you for sharing that. One of the things, Dr. Nicole, you shared with us when we were kind of researching you and you looked at your application, you said that you lived countries, and then just give us a little bit of experience for those of you, because I am one that at some point wants to live in a different country. I just wanted you to talk about your experience overall with living in another country.
Yes, just definitely. I've loved traveling since I was an adolescent. My parents sent me on an international children's trip, and I've always just had that interest in just a broader view. So I started with my dissertation research for my PhD. I got a fellowship, and I said I had some connections. I did my dissertation research in Ethiopia, in East Africa. I stayed there for about 10 months. And I was really immersed in the culture. And from there, I got different contracts. So I lived in the Middle East in a small country called Bahrain, which is near Saudi Arabia, working in an international school as a psychologist. And then I went to Southern Africa, a small country called Botswana, and I was a professor there for 2 years at the University of Botswana. And so it's just been so enlightening to have colleagues from around the world that you could just call on people and say, hey, I need to run this by you, or hey, I need you to be a guest speaker in my class. And just also living abroad and traveling extensively abroad has given me this view that burnout is not normal. American culture will make you think that being that hamster on the hamster wheel, there's no other way. But when you go to other places, you realize, wait, there's afternoon tea. There's time to pause. Like people, you take a lunch hour, you sit and you talk with your colleagues. You might go home and take a short nap, right? You socialize with people. You don't just run yourself into the ground um, and think that you're still supposed to be productive. So I think that's one of the biggest lessons from all the places that I've been and lived in, is that like you have to have that balance in life.
So good. And Dr. Nicole, when I left corporate, I left in 2021, but I was managing a global team, and we had people like a little bit of everywhere, like Europe. We had some in Manila. I had a person on my team that was from Nepal. We had people in all the UK, South Africa. It was just a really global mix. And I tell people all the time, it changed my life forever. And the reason why it did, I think the first cues was kind of like, I remember we had global work queue. So everybody was kind of jumping in. And I'm like, why are they working so slow? I couldn't understand. I was mad. I said, why are these people working so slow? Like, what is going on? My team, we getting efficiency. We're literally doing 3 times the work in the US versus other regions. And it didn't hit me at that time. I'm just still the angry manager that has a work queue. So what are you doing? And I was like, when I finally kind of got to the end of my career, and I was trying to understand like why I had little touch points, why was he's showing me this way, and it was that aha of like Western culture, right? And that need to. Them people in UK was like, girl, it's lunchtime. We ain't got time to be.
Emailing you back.
Doing all of that, and their frustration at the beginning, I didn't understand where it came from, but I then started to learn a lot more about Eastern culture and this value of family, this value of different things. And when I started and I transitioned, into this entrepreneur space, I was like, I'm going to understand the why, because we on the chase all the time. We on the chase for the next degree, the next title, the next status,
promotion.
And I was just telling the guest, Dr. Goss, like, but for what though? Like really is the for what? Like, yes, you want the sometimes financial success or notoriety. I'm not saying don't go for those things, but me being able to see how other cultures navigate, even though I have never touched, my feet to their land, and understand it literally changed me forever. And although I think that passage toward the end was very rough, I thank God every single day almost for the experience of it. Because now I move through life so much differently, knowing that our particular way of life, our particular way of chase in a hamster wheel is not the end all be all. Like if you want to live and live that culture and that be, what really ingrains you, then by all means do it. But there are other ways of life. So I wanted to make sure I had you talk about that. And I'm so happy that it came up, because that is something for me that I hold in a high place. That's why I was like, girl, I ain't really just got to be in America. I could be anywhere,
Yes, and especially with what you do, right? Like you could be, in various places doing it.
Absolutely. I want to talk about this, Dr. Nicole, of course, she's a whole psychiatrist out here, got a whole life coaching business, and got a whole family. Let's talk about kind of the family piece in building a business, because a lot of people, they see it, but behind the scenes, it's like a lot of work where you're trying to support a family, you're trying to figure out what the business is going to do, you're trying to structure it, still be in your profession. Talk to us about that kind of mix of moving into making the business and really about that family piece and having to navigate that space.
Yes, that's a great question, because we could do the whole mompreneur thing all day, but how does it actually work? And I have found that it has taken being organized, but also being able to say no to things. So there are certain things that as my girls get older, moving into middle school, we're getting ready for high school. And it's actually, they need me more than when they were little toddlers, because it's more about guiding them and life lessons and stuff. So I have had to say no to certain things. I used to see clients in the evenings. I no longer do that. Right. And so I only see clients during the hours that where my kids are at school or, otherwise doing activities. So I had to say, and it's hard, right? Because we want to do it all. We're ambitious and curious and like motivated. So it took some hard decisions to say no to certain things, being organized, and also getting the family involved. My husband, he's all supportive of like, all right, you need to make this video, you need to do that. My kids know I pay them a little bit to help me like with social media and things like that, so that they can understand like when my door is closed, that means don't come in, but I've involved you in other aspects of it so that you feel, you understand the value of it. And then hopefully, and also for them to see hard work. Like, we do so much behind the scenes, and it takes a while. You have to pour into it for it to grow. It's not just an overnight thing. So, just getting them involved, saying no to things, being more organized. And, the older they get, in some ways it's easier because they're independent. They can do things like their lunches and stuff. But then also they need you more emotionally. Middle school is a whole drama. So just making sure that I take time for myself so that I can also have the energy for them, and then also for what I'm doing in my business.
Absolutely. And I am finding myself, my son is 7. And I'm
Ooh,
finding
yeah.
myself, making sure that he's already starting to understand kind of like my methodology, how mommy works and what this kind of thing is. And sometimes he have a ton of questions, but I like what you said about that involvement piece, because like even now, like people wouldn't know, like on Friday, we homeschool partial, like Monday, Fridays, he's here with me. So lots of times on Fridays, I shoot a lot of interviews and people are like, are you sure you have a kid there? I'm like, yeah, but he's starting to understand. Like, I'll tell him, like, look, mommy has a slot. I have like an hour slot. We make sure we have snacks and everything. And we'll kind of go back there and engage and that kind of a thing. So he knows already how to like work around this schedule. And I think for me, and having that transparency with him, like, look, mommy has a meeting for 30 minutes. I'll be right back out. And he respects those boundaries. So
Yes.
that open conversation and saying, this is kind of how it goes. In the morning, we're going to get up and do our schoolwork from 8 to 10 o'clock. He's already in the rhythm of that. So that was kind of the best way for me to transition into this, because in my prayers, I was just like, I don't want my child to go missing or astray and he's still in the house.
Yes, exactly.
So that's I'm so happy you brought that in. And women need to hear that they see the mompreneur, they see all the stuff, but maybe it's a whole system in the background. There's different things.
It's a lot. And we can have it all, but we can't always have it all at once. So we got to, like you see, I love the structure that you talked about with your son, and that he knows this time to this time, this is what we're doing. And I think that's so important. That's going to build like inner discipline for him as he grows up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what he wanted. And I'm like, my model to him is to really be able to use these 24 hours the best way, Dr. Nicole. Because sometimes we get out there in the world and corporate and different places, and they plan how to use that 24. I'm like, I don't have to use my 8 hours like this, but this work gonna be done.
Exactly.
I don't have to use my 8. Just teaching him really how to time block. If you have school this and you want to do some recreational things at 1 o'clock, well, we bucket this time so that we're able to get as much bang for our buck in 24. And that's really my ultimate model.
I love that. Yes.
Let's go here.
Okay.
I want to talk specifically about these life coaching services. I know that you threw in something earlier. I think I heard something about retreats. I want people to know specifically how they can work with you in the life coaching space, kind of how it looks like, or these one-on-one calls, coaching. I want them to have a good understanding of that in the event they want to connect with you. After you talk about the services, go ahead and give them those connection points so we know where to find you on social or websites or whatever you have, so that we can find you.
Okay, so I am hosting an upcoming retreat in the Philadelphia area in November. It's called Boundaries to Bliss, the Boundaries to Bliss Live Retreat. That is a day of cultivating joy and self-care and self-awareness so that you can go back into the world more balanced and with healthy boundaries. I also run a group coaching program called the Boundaries to Bliss Society. So you get the theme here, right? Like, my whole thing is, once you have healthy boundaries and connection with yourself, you go on to flourish in other areas of your life. But my group coaching program that includes weekly classes as well as a live coaching component. We meet every 2 weeks on Zoom. You get to ask me questions and get coached by me. That's the Boundaries to Bliss Society. I have some higher level coaching programs where if you want to work with me individually on your specific goals. And so that's the Boundaries 360 program. I've worked with tons of women who just want that individualized support where we look at their relationships, their health and self-care, their money, and their overall well-being. And we set specific goals and I help them. A lot of women are coming to me with specific goals around their relationships. So that is one area that I am really an expert in, helping women to really communicate better, to be able to get what they need from their spouse or whoever they're in a relationship with. And so you can get that if you work with me individually. We'll work specifically on your goal around healthy communication, healthy boundaries in your relationship. You can go to my coaching website, which is drnicolemonteiro.com. So DrNicoleMonteiro.com. You can find me on Instagram at I am Dr. Nicole. Also LinkedIn, Nicole Monteiro, PhD. But if you go to the website, that's the best way you can book a free 15-minute call with me. And you can look around and sign up for my various programs. You will love the retreat if you just want to get a taste of what it's like to spend a day with me, work with me, and walk away refreshed and renewed. Then the Boundaries to Bliss retreat is for you.
Absolutely love it. And thank you so much for sharing this. I did think we are going to have enough time, but I think we do, Dr. Nicole.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a somewhat of a reflection question, but really futuristic. Let's just say that you're turning 80 years old tomorrow, Dr. Nicole. You've made it to 80. Congratulations. God bless you.
God, yes.
You've endured a lot, so now you're making 80. And now we're planning this fancy party for Dr. Nicole. Everybody that's in the room that she wants to be there is there. They're dressed up to the nines. We got everything. We got whatever you want. Fish, shrimp, cocktails, whatever food suits Dr. Nicole, it's there, and it's there in abundance. But the key thing is that what are you hoping those people in the room have said about Dr. Nicole and her journey, her space? What kind of accolades are they giving Dr. Nicole at 80? Because sometimes you have to put their mind on a future track to ensure that they are leading you to that place. So I want you to tell me, what are you hoping they're saying?
I love that question. I would hope that they would recognize that she's been a good wife, a good mother, a good family member, daughter, sister, a good friend, that she had a compassionate heart and a soft communication style that just drew people in to be able to listen and take in her wisdom, and that she cultivated joy in her life and wanted to share that as an example for other women in particular, that that their joy and their well-being is just as important as anything else. I want them to say that she has been a woman of faith, and she has lived by her morals. She wasn't perfect, but she had a moral code that she tried to live and show as an example.
And that's it. So when you write that, Dr. Nicole, and that's what you're hoping for, because I'll be asking myself this at like, okay, you have it at every birthday party. So that reminds me every day, Sinead, you better be taking the steps to get to that place,
to get to that party.
To get to that party and have that be said about you. So it's a fun thing to do with your mind, just to make sure. So I had to ask you that, and what a beautiful thing they would say. And from the essence of what I capture, I feel like Dr. Nicole is moving in that light. So, so thank you for sharing. Now, this is the part, Dr. Nicole, we cue to you for final thoughts. I tell my guests, if people catch nothing but this, because people skim around, if they just catch this clip, I want you to give us some final parting words for this space, and also to give us something that captures the essence of Dr. Nicole. I'm cueing over to you for final thoughts.
Ladies, my final thought, my final sort of lesson to you or warning to you is, please do not wait until you are burnt out and run into the ground to try to take care of yourself. We are not promised tomorrow, and you deserve to thrive, not just to survive. You deserve to be at a level where you enjoy life, you have joy, you have healthy relationships. And if you're not at that place, you can get to that place. You need help, you get coaching, you get help, you get courses, whatever it is, but know that you deserve to get to a place of thriving and feeling good. Doesn't mean that life isn't going to have any challenges, but you do not have to stay in survival mode. I would also say that, I'm sorry, I forgot the last question.
No, you're totally fine. You gave them some good pointing words, which are great. I just want you to give me something that captures the essence of Dr. Nicole.
Okay. Something that captures the essence of me, I would say, is joy and compassion. That's been how I've always been like that. A lot of empathy, very sensitive, but also very able to be in the moment, be adventurous, experience new things, and experience joy. So I think that those two things balance each other out, and it helps me to work with other women.
Well, Dr. Nicole, let me just tell you this. I really appreciate you for being in the space with me. You took a time on today to come and hang out with me on the HBCU Her Voice podcast. I tell people every time it's HBCU, but that Her Voice is really the essence of why we're here, moving and seeing each other as the fabulous and resilient women that we are. To everyone who's listening out here in the HBCU Her Voice land, I want to tell you, I will never leave this place. I'll tell you that I love you. Transformative things happen when you let your voice shine. And really in no time, I'll be back with another amazing woman on the HBCU Her Voice podcast. But until that time, we're out.